Hey everyone, welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology. I'm Bright Hawk, and together with Hollis Taylor, we bring you weekly astrology that's accessible, inclusive, and totally down to earth. Hollis is a seasoned astrologer and psychic medium. I'm a musician, artist, and storyteller who loves making the cosmos relatable. We're both passionate teachers who love answering your questions and helping you navigate life through the stars. Each week we start with a guided meditation to tune in to the planetary energies. Then we dive into the week's cosmic forecast, offer horoscopes for every sign, and always make time for your live questions. Whether you're brand new to astrology or you've been following the stars for years, we create a welcoming space where everyone belongs. Our different perspectives and styles come together to give you a well-rounded cosmic experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology. Let's get centered, tune in, and explore what the universe has in store for us this week.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Hollis, and this is Bright Hawk, and here we are. We're ready to unfold this week's astrology for you. I hope you're excited for some real deep conversations this week. We are going to go deep, but first we're going to take a little deep dive into our guided meditation to help you tap into the astrology this week. So let's take just a moment to sit back and listen to the music, get connected. Let's go. Just take a nice deep breath and allow yourself to become completely surrounded in darkness. In outer space with nothing but darkness around you. Into the dark depths of outer space, allowing your body to release any tension from the day. And as you connect to that darkness, yourself to relax way off in the distance. You notice the god Mercury, who kind of reminds you a little bit of Peter Pan. Bolt shoes, embracing a lightning bolt in their hands. They are running through space. And as they become directly in front of you, they slow down. They still appear to be running, but they have slowed down. And deep in the darkness depths of Scorpio season. This slowdown is reflective of our experience. Going into the depths of the deep darkness, we are connected. And in the depth, you can feel all of those parts of you that are uncomfortable, that are shadowed, all the parts of you that are deep, the deep wounds and the deep joy. What feels like your soul. And as Mercury turns towards you, a lightning bolt comes out of their hand directly at your heart. Awakening you and transforming you and pushing you into the newest version of you. And as you can barely take in what just happened, at the quickness, you realize that Mercury is transforming you in the depths of Scorpio, in the deepest, darkest parts of who you are. And you recognize that that deep part of you, the shadow part of you, all the parts of you are integrated into the entire being that is you. And any changes that you make now and shifts that are to come, do not deny where you came from, but instead transform lead into gold. Bringing deep alchemy into your soul, transforming you in ways you never imagined. Bringing forth the unseen parts of you. Your unseen and hidden golden gems. As you smile within, you can smile outside and come back into your body, into this present moment, and connect with the music and with the astrology that is now. Wiggle your toes, open your eyes, and welcome to Rainbow Soul. Thank you, Bright.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, you all, I hope that you enjoyed that meditation. We are very much deep into Scorpio season. The darkness is coming in. I'm sure you can feel it. I'm sure you can feel the shadows emerging. I know that most of the time, I used to think, it was all in my head. I used to think, oh, it's just because you're like afraid of the costumes or all the spooky stuff. You're making up stuff in your head. Actually, you're not. So if you're one of those people out there doing that, I used to do that to myself. You're actually not. And before I found witchcraft, I used to think that I was just making it up because of Halloween. But actually, there is something happening. The leaves are falling out, and the trees are dying, and the shift is happening into the darkness. And I find it interesting that this year we're having a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Sag, in the depths of the darkness, sort of in the darkest time of the year, because by the time it goes direct, 2 weeks later, it will be winter solstice and we'll start to get brighter each time. So I find that interesting that sort of the overview perspective of this season that we're entering right now, that we're walking into, is huge shadow work. So if you're looking at shadow work, let me just mention Mystics Academy. You definitely want to check in on that. We'll be focusing on shadow work next month. We'll be talking about self-care and how to take care of yourself better and how to do shadow work. What is shadow work? What do I mean when I say shadow work? And how to do it, including how to tap into your astrology chart to find exactly what your shadow looks like, because your shadow is actually reflected in your chart. There's actually a house of shadow. It's called the 8th house. Yeah. So I'll be teaching more about that and the depth of that and what the 8th house is about and what shadow is in the astrology chart. I'll be going deep into that. So if you're interested in that, make sure you dive into Mystics Academy. You can totally connect on that at my website, or you could just go to patreon.com and go to patreon.com Mystics Academy. So it's just you'll have to be in the novice mystics group to access the teachings. Okay. So just letting you know that. So if you're interested in that, I just want you to plug into that. That's the patreon.com/Mystics Academy. If you go to that, you'll be able to see what your choices are on the tiers, and it's totally worth every dime. And next month we are focusing on shadow work. This month we did Samhain, so there is a teaching video already available about Samhain if you're still learning about that, which is Halloween. What is the history of Halloween if you're interested in knowing that? And there's a seance on Friday. So if you're interested in that, jump on into Mystics Academy. You will, if you attend the readings party, you will likely get some sort of reading from spirits on the other side. Okay. All right. So let's dive into this week's astrology. Seems pretty intense, right, Bright Dog?
Well, I think this year is, intense is an understatement, so I try not to use it. This week, at least we're in between it's not as intense because we don't have a full moon or a new moon. But as Hollis has already mentioned, we're already in the shadow period of a Mercury retrograde, which means it'll be when Mercury does retrograde, which is not for another 2 weeks, it'll come back over this time that we're in and a little bit farther back, and before it goes forward. So we call that before and after period the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, which is what we're in. But I think we have a pretty amazing start to the week because we have a lot of trine energy, which now sometimes people don't even notice trines. Things just come together quickly. They just happen. And so it's always good to be aware of the trine energy because it'll definitely impact everyone, and it'll impact you, especially if you're a water sign or have significant water signs.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want me to keep going on that?
Yeah, we could.
I was going to say that the interesting thing about this trine that I think makes it just a little bit more noticeable is that Mercury and Mars are together. And I feel like anytime Mars is involved in a trine, it makes it like, oh, you just said that. And it's usually not always like we like to think of trines as a blessing. And sometimes they are. And Mars can sometimes just be about action. But I feel like in this instance, it could, because it's with Mars, because it's in its ruling sign, making it really intense. Do you think that grand trine, do you think it's just going to be a blessing? Maybe it is a blessing. Maybe it's meant to come together, and maybe some things are meant to be said, especially in relation to emotions, since it's all in water, right? Which is what you were just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, water represents emotions. So let's talk about the players of this grand trine in water. So we have Mercury and Mars have been moving together for a few weeks now, I want to say. And they, of course, are in Scorpio. And we, of course, have the sun in Scorpio. So we have a lot of Scorpio energy. Happy birthday, Scorpios. But that's what we mean when we talk about the underworld. Scorpio is deep. Pluto is its ruler. Now, it's trining Jupiter. Jupiter makes everything bigger. It's meant to amplify and answer the questions of what do you really want. Now, it can also be the sign of excess, the planet of excess, too much. But we're very grateful for Jupiter's largesse because, of course, Jupiter protects us from being absolutely barraged by the universe. It's a very big protector energy. And so we have Jupiter in Cancer, which is patriotic, home, everything related to family and that kind of patriotic vibe. And then, of course, the other part of it at the bottom of the chart is Saturn and Neptune, which are now both in Pisces. So Pisces, I like to call the ocean of emotion. They're peacemakers. Pisces feel everyone. They're super empathetic. And they are good at bringing people together in a good way. For the greatest good of all is a great Piscean viewpoint. So, and of course, Saturn, it represents structure, and Neptune represents imagination, illusions, dreams, visions. Also very watery. Neptune is a ruler of Pisces. Saturn is not really comfortable in Pisces. Saturn is, Hollis always describes, a sandcastle meets the beach, and the wave just washes shit away. And that Saturn doesn't really like that. Saturn likes structure. But at a certain point, guess what happens to sandcastles? So those are the flavors of the Grand Trine, and it goes on for most of the week. So all of us are going to feel those things, but the ones who are water signs, and let's face it, it's Scorpio season. So if you have Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising, and of course a Scorpio sun, whew. So I'm sure you can add even more, Hollis.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Like, I'm just thinking about it as you were talking and listening, and I was thinking, and then we were saying earlier that Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. Typically, modern day, it usually rules Capricorn, but it also used to rule Aquarius, which makes me think that it's speaking back to that Pluto in Aquarius, which is very much about busting through. And Pluto just went direct last week, and so you're probably feeling it about now, where change and transformation is starting to happen. So whatever is happening right now, like this week, like maybe it started last week, but it's gotten more intense this week. Whatever's happening that right now, I'm just going to let you know that's probably going to be your theme through this entire Mercury retrograde transit. Okay. And so that now, here's the thing, people have some funny ideas about Mercury retrograde, so I just want to address those real quick. Mercury retrograde, first of all, is not always bad. Second of all, sometimes it can propose some challenges. Oftentimes those challenges are meant to put you back on your track. A lot of times those challenges are meant to push through things that could be difficult or hard, or make you review things or edit them, or take a look at something again to see, oh, is that really what I wanted to do? Am I sure I wanted to go that way? And that's essentially what the Mercury retrograde shadow will be doing. So, and it's 20 degrees. It started at 20 degrees Scorpio. So if you have anything 20 degrees or later in Scorpio, all the way up to about 6 degrees Sagittarius, this Mercury retrograde is going to go right over top of things. Okay. And that also means if you have anything at 20 degrees or more of Taurus into 6 degrees Gemini, it's going to be opposite. So if you want to take a look at your chart, remember there's only 30 degrees in each sign. So each zodiac only goes to 29, and then the next degree, to go to 29, 29, and then 29, 59, and then it will go to 0 degrees to the next sign. Okay. At least in traditional astrology. Okay. In traditional Western astrology. And so when you're looking at your chart, if you got your free astrology chart that kind of looks like this one on the screen, usually look at circle charts. I'm telling you how to read it. And you want to look for the Scorpio symbol. If you don't know what the Scorpio symbol looks like, Google it. If you want to know, you want me to remind you, see that blue sign with the little pointy tail? That's Scorpio, because it's represented by a scorpion. Right here I am trying to help you remember the symbols. Okay. And it's going to move. You can see Mercury and Mars, they're up against each other there in the 11th house on this one, but it could be in any house on your chart, because it's going to depend on what time you were born, what house it's in. So hopefully you have the right time. If you have the right time, this will be more accurate. Okay. And so you're going to want to look from 20 or higher to the first 6 degrees of Sagittarius. Do you have anything there? If you have something there in your natal chart, something's going to happen, and it will be related to that house for you. Okay. I will also do a set of horoscopes, which will be released as reels for this Mercury retrograde exactly, or at least for the shadow period and for the Mercury retrograde, to help you get prepared for the Mercury retrograde. How can you prepare for Mercury retrograde? Well, there's lots of ways to prepare. First of all, especially with Scorpio, I would say to pay attention to any kind of gut instincts that you're having, anything that you're like, I think we should do this, or I feel or sense this. Anything that has to do with shadow work, any hard things, any deep down feelings or desires, or anything that has to do with the house that it's in. You want to kind of engage those energies right away. Don't push things away. Don't ignore things. Don't pretend things are not there. Don't try not to be in denial. Denial will hurt a little bit later. probably when it actually goes retrograde, which will be November 9th, which isn't that far off, right? We're just talking about another week here. Okay. So this week, it's going to kind of preview what's going to happen during the Mercury retrograde. So if you have any plans you're making this week or anything like that, just be prepared for those plans to change. Be more flexible during the Mercury retrograde. Make changes right away. Don't wait. If you feel or sense that something is going to break, like your car, get it fixed ASAP. You think your computer might go, back up your important information. Anything that's kind of broken will probably break during the Mercury retrograde. That's what I've learned. And so those are the kinds of things that you want to be paying attention to. Don't sign any contracts right now if you can help it. If you must sign a contract, then I would suggest that you review it, double, triple review it. Take a good look at it, sleep on it, look at it the next day, try to put it off for a few days. Don't sign any contracts until hopefully after Mercury retrograde. If you can't wait, you can't wait. And sometimes that's how things go. Okay. So that's the Mercury retrograde in shadow. That's what's happening right now. And with Mars there, it makes me think about taking action. You might actually take things too fast. You might try to push too much, too hard, too fast. You might find yourself saying things that you later regret. You might speak things that you're like, maybe I shouldn't have pushed so hard, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I was a little too harsh in that moment. Anything like that that's going on. Now, in relation to the Saturn, it's in a trine to Saturn and Neptune. And as I've been talking, if you've been listening to these broadcasts, you know that I've been talking about the Great Reveal. That is Saturn and Neptune traveling together all this year, pretty much. And all winter long. And it won't reveal. The reveal will not be done until next summer. Summer of 26. Okay. So take a deep breath. We're halfway through the Great Reveal. I'm sure some things have been revealed to you. I'm sure you've discovered some surprising things, especially with Uranus doing its transits in Taurus and Gemini. It is not done, but it is very much part of the story, especially since it's in opposition to Mars and Mercury. So this means that we could have some surprises if we move too fast, say too much, push too hard. That's Scorpio, tends to push too hard, tends to be a little bit on the intense side. Okay. So while a trine is a blessing and it's a great thing, it can also be something that comes together really easily that's not necessarily a good thing. So it could be like you easily argue with your boss. Okay. You easily argue with your coworker, or you have to speaking truth right now. That's Scorpio. Okay. That's totally Scorpio. Scorpio is all about speaking the truth. And with Mercury and Mars conjunct there, there's going to be truth speaking. People are going to say things. People are going to speak their truth. Make sure you listen to that. That's my suggestion. Listen to that. See if there's some way you can accept that, even if it's hard to hear. Because this is a good time to hear the truth, I think. And I think with it in opposition, with Pluto doing its dance, it's about to enter, I think the week following or whatever. I think it actually happens during the Mercury retrograde, Bright Hawk. I think I remember looking at that. The Uranus actually enters into Taurus during the Mercury retrograde, right before they enter into Sagittarius. The two of them, Mars and Mercury, they'll be traveling together until Mercury turns around. And then Mercury will turn around and go retrograde, but Mars will go forward. Okay. So Mercury does not actually go retrograde until November the 9th, which is next week. But right now you're getting a preview and I'm just warming you up. But there is trines. So there are some things that are going to come up easily, that are going to come together easily somehow. And it's good for you to just allow that, be aware of it, be flexible, and be open. And I think that's like my best advice for navigating this energy right now. Scorpio is such a deep energy. Scorpio is so deep. It is the deepest of them all. It is even deeper than Pisces, even deeper than Cancer. It is so deep that sometimes Scorpios can be Scorpio energy can be intimidating, overwhelming, and for some people and some signs, a little bit too much. This is when you'll see some people be like, "That's a little much." Okay, and that's usually Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio energy tends to feel like too much, and if you have any strong Scorpio placements, I myself am a Scorpio rising. And I know that I felt like I was too much most of my life. It's just kind of a thing. You just kind of feel like you're too much all the time. And so Scorpio suns can sometimes feel that way too. Okay. So if you're in that area, if you have placements in Scorpio, Taurus, Gemini, or Sagittarius, this will be impactful in your life. Okay. So I just want to bring that up this week. I think the most important this week is to pay attention to what's happening so that you can be more prepared for the Mercury retrograde transit. And I did want to speak real quickly to that Saturn that's part of the trine. That's speaking to Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius that has gone direct. I really feel like that's like what we're seeing with the protests and things like that. But I also think it's I also feel like that's also asking us to come together and to join our communities, to find our tribe, to find our connections, because that's really what Pluto and Aquarius is pretty much that, is redefining who's your tribe, who's your community, where do you belong, where do you fit in. And that's why Pluto is definitely speaking to that right now. And so you might feel some of that dissolving, and maybe there's some changing, and maybe you might even notice it during this T-square, or right before this T-square. I was looking at this T-square, Bright Hawk, with the Jupiter in Cancer, which of course is patriotic, Moon in Capricorn, and the Chiron there in Aries, which makes me think about like healing old wounds and things like that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Chiron, of course, meant to bring healing, meant to point out what needs healing. With Jupiter involved, it makes me think healing of the masses, hopefully. And the moon conjunct Pluto, that's all about transformation. It's not exactly comfortable, but it is revelatory. It does continue to emphasize that revelation kind of thing, what's trying to be revealed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that. And as Capricorn moves into Pluto, that T-square will break up. But you can see that T-square is on Tuesday. So there might be a challenge. Maybe something happens, especially with this big grand trine with that involving Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, which Mars is in its ruling sign when it's in Scorpio, so super strong. It's actually the second strongest of all, or maybe the third. Yeah, it might be the third. I would rank it the third because the strongest of them, but all of them are involved in all of the planets that are the strongest in this chart are Jupiter, Neptune, and Mars, and they're all part of that grand trine. So that really speaks to what in the great reveal is happening for you. So this could, of course, be in the politics in the world, things being revealed, maybe things being said, especially with Mars and Mercury traveling together. That could be an exchange of words that are more aggressive or violent. Aggressive words, of course, can lead us to to bigger problems. And then of course, and with Saturn in Pisces, remember what I said, what Brighthawk was saying about sandcastles. And so with sandcastles, that makes you think like, ugh, is the ocean just going to come up and swallow some things that we've built? Yes, probably. And with the great reveal, Neptune and Saturn, this is where things get, since they're both retrograde right now, Neptune and Saturn, it makes me think that they're going to kind of wash things away. There's going to be more reveal right now, and Neptune won't go direct until a little bit later in the year. Jupiter's slowing down. Jupiter's about to go retrograde in a couple weeks. So I feel like we're preparing for some big revealed items right now that are being revealed right now. And I bet you this T-square on Tuesday is going to be a part of that. Like we're probably going to maybe get news or something that we don't like very much, especially with Uranus at 0 degrees. It's about to head back into Taurus. And as it does, it's usually surprises, right? So, and with Sun in Capricorn, the moon in Capricorn, it makes me think about that Saturn, which again is part of the Grand Trine. So we keep speaking back to that Grand Trine, back to the Grand Trine, back to that Grand Trine. We keep coming back to it every time we look at any of the transits. And so that speaks to the powerfulness of that Grand Trine, of things coming together easily. Maybe not all great things, but things coming together. But when things that are not easy come together during a Grand Trine, I always think, but it's all for the greater good, because the divine had it planned. And I trust the universe, and I just trust that even when things are hard, that they're meant to be hard right now, and we're just going to navigate that right now. So for those of you that are struggling with such as the politics and things going on in the world, just, be prepared, be braced on Tuesday, maybe to feel something about the system, feel something. And it may not even be like just politics. It might just be like, like if you work in a school or your kid goes to school, or, something that you have to deal with in the system where you're like, ugh, and it just kind of annoys you. But then at some point you'll probably push through it. It will bring some healing through because of Chiron's involvement there. And when we move into Wednesday, so that's Tuesday, and Wednesday the moon's moving over top of Pluto. I think that's actually probably like kind of reassuring us that we're all in this together. Maybe we'll feel some connection to the collective where everybody's kind of ticked off about whatever we heard on Tuesday, right? Right? And going, oh man. And a lot of us coming together and realizing that there's more of us on the same team than we thought before. And we're less and less separated. So the good news about the great reveal is I'm pretty sure it's going to make us a little bit less separated, actually. Pretty sure it's going to start to bring us together, that we're going to agree that we don't like this. And I'm pretty sure that that's where we're going to find our agreement. So as we watch this Grand Trine, I'm pretty sure it plays out most of the week. Now here you can see on Wednesday, Mercury moved into Sagittarius, and it's directly across from Uranus. So that makes me wonder what will be spoken.
Yes.
What will be spoken?
And when Mercury is in Sag, it's in its detriment. So again, you have Mercury in Sag retrograding until...
Well, not yet, but...
Well, it'll, when it gets to 6 degrees, I think we were talking about, it'll start retrograding, and then it'll go back into Scorpio. So, little intensity, I'd say. And, we were talking about planets and their strengths and weaknesses. Jupiter's very, very strong. Now that Mercury's moved into Sag, it's literally in its fall. It's opposite its home sign in Gemini. Uranus right now in Gemini it likes being in Gemini, but it's about to step in a couple of weeks or next 10 days. Uranus steps back into Taurus, which again, it's fall position. It's doesn't like being there.
I think it's not technically the fall, but it always makes me think that it's got to be the fall.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
It's not technically, but no, it is. Uranus is fall position in Taurus.
Okay.
I'm reading it right off the chart. See, if you take your class, if you take the astrology class with us, we give you all kinds of cheat sheets that tell you all this kind of stuff. And it helps you start to realize when we're looking at the chart, you know, who's the biggest player, who's the strongest one in the room, if you will. And how are things aspected? This tells us the story about what's going on, how to work with it, what's going to be a challenge, what's not going to be a challenge. What, like Trines, things come together quickly, and that's my dog drinking water. If you can hear him.
You can.
And so he's right next to me at my feet. So I'm like, okay, Charlie, thanks. So that's part of what we're looking at when we're looking at the chart. Who's in their strongest positions and who's not. So there you go.
And that's when you learn astrology, that's how you rank which one will be a bigger player in your birth chart. So if you're looking at your birth chart, you'll be like, oh, that one's anything that's exalted is actually stronger than anything that's in its rulership. Okay. So like, for instance, I have Uranus in Scorpio, which is exalted. It's also on my ascendant, which makes it super strong. So, okay, so it's super, super, super strong. And in my opinion, it's the strongest planet in my chart, and it tends to be the strongest thing that I have. And sometimes I feel like I am too progressive and too deep for most people. Okay. And so that's where I was saying, where if you have Scorpio placements, you might sometimes feel like you're deeper than other people. And so if you're wondering why that is, that's why. Okay. And if you have Uranus in Scorpio, if you were born around 1975, you have Uranus in Scorpio. And if it's direct, you know, that part of your life, you're super deep about it. Okay. And for me, it's pretty much everything I do because it's in my rising. But for you, it could be in your house of money or community or relationships. Okay. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking. But Mars is in its rulership. Pluto is in its rulership when it's in Scorpio. Pluto is also the other ruler of Scorpio. So I will say that Pluto will probably have something to do with this grand trine because it's going to speak, you know, to the Mercury retrograde going on over here with Mars in Scorpio, and then now also speaking to that Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces. So I think that's why Pluto is going to strengthen up a little bit, even though it's in Aquarius. It's not necessarily in its rulership or whatever. But if you look at the chart right now, the transits right now, the loudest speaking planets right now on Wednesday will be Jupiter in Cancer is the loudest. And then I would say it would then be Mars and then Neptune. Now, Neptune's in its rulership, but it's retrograde. So I find that they are not quite as loud when they're in retrograde. Plus, it's an outer planet. Oh, and we also have Venus in Libra, which is also in its rulership. Okay, but they're not exalted. So Mars and Venus are in their rulership, but they are not exalted. Jupiter in Cancer is, which is very much about patriotism. It's very much about your home. It's about expanding your home. It's about making your home better. It's about making improvements in your home, changing the belief systems in your home. And that's Jupiter in Cancer. And that's been going on for a while. So don't be surprised if then when Mercury enters into Sag, when it's in its detriment, it might mean that it might not be so easy to talk about things. It might be a little bit harder to talk about things. Like before you could talk about it, but now you can't. Okay, now there's something maybe in the way. And with Mars in Scorpio, it's going to follow that Mercury into Sag. And Mercury is not going to get that far into Sag. But since Mercury is in its detriment, that just means it's not as loud. If it's in its fall, it's actually kind of self-sabotage. It will actually sabotage from that area. Okay. But if it's in its fall, if it's in its detriment, it's more like just quieter, I would say. It's just quieter. It's just not as loud. It's not as amplified. So that's pretty much on Wednesday. Okay. So I would say of the intensity of the days, Wednesday, we might notice that communication kind of goes downhill. We might be like, oh, here comes that Mercury retrograde Hollis was talking about. You'll be like, oh boy, okay. And it might even be some attempt to talk that's not actually really all that great, like sort of indulgent in a way, that you're like, oh, that's not really great. No. Okay, stop talking now. Okay. And then of course on Thursday we start to get a T-square with Venus and Chiron. They're in opposition to each other, and they're in a square to Jupiter on Friday. Okay. To be honest, I think that this T-square later, like we'll have a T-square earlier in the week with the moon, but I think this T-square is more difficult, but it's also deeper in the healing area. Like the first one on Tuesday will be with that Capricorn moon. And I think that while that is healing, when we enter into this one on Friday, and it will probably continue over the weekend, it's going to, I feel like it's really going to bring some good healing. It's really going to help us find healing. And with the moon in Pisces, even though it's opposite the South Node, we'll probably be letting some crap go that needs to be let go. With that because Venus is in its rulership.
Well, and I just feel like the weekend, there's a lot of oppositions, right? So you have the moon conjuncting the North Node. And remember, the North Node is our destiny, and the South Node is our past, our karma, our past lives. So that, the nodes are always going to be opposite each other. But the fact that the moon is now joining it, it makes me think that that the Virgo Pisces eclipse energy, remember those have a tendency to kind of and I think this is part of that. This is part of the eclipse energy and the revelation and more revelation. I feel like we've used that reveal word a lot already in this podcast. So, and there's reasons that we use certain words a lot, because in astrology, what we notice is that it's never one thing. It's like four things will point to the same theme. And the big reveal, revelation, all of those kind of words, we're all saying the same thing. And the other opposition, the one that kind of makes me go, oh gosh, is the one that's been playing out most of the month, or last couple of weeks, I guess, is that Uranus, Mars, Mercury opposition. Feels kind of intense. And then, oppositions are really challenging. It's very difficult to find the midway point between these things. And so it can be very uncomfortable, especially if you're on one side of those oppositions. I know that the eclipse for Hollis and I, because we both have lots of Virgo energy, very intense. So Virgo Pisces, when the moon conjuncts the nodes, you might feel some of that again. Yeah. We don't have a lot of big void moons this week, just by the way. And the void, of course, is when the moon is changing signs, and it's the in-between. It's when the moon has the least amount of emotionally dramatic energy. So we've been surveying you all about how the void moons have been for you, and it's been really interesting to hear everyone's feedback. And I still have that question. For example, Sunday, this Sunday was a void moon all day. Did it feel like it was easier to focus, or did you feel like, oh my God, I can't get it together? You know, we often say void of course moons are permission to take a break, but life doesn't always give you that same permission. So what has the void moon meant for you? And this week, they're not very big. They're not all that remarkable, but I'd love to hear from you if you're having a different kind of experience.
Do you remember what sign it was on Sunday, what it's moving out of and into? So the
Sorry,
Go ahead.
the sun, I didn't update Sunday. The sun moves out of Aries and out of Pisces and into Aries on Sunday. And it's just a very brief Sunday morning void from 6:15 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. Mountain Time, Boulder,
Is that November
Colorado.
26th or
That's
November 2nd?
November
October
2nd.
Okay.
November 2nd.
Yeah.
Sunday. But this last Sunday, we had a void moon all day. Did you notice? Just curious.
I'm saying I did notice, and I was wondering, this morning I felt very heavy. So we're recording this on Sunday, and what I remember is that this morning I felt like I had a wet blanket on. I felt very damp. I felt very like,
Pisces
were we moving out of Pisces?
into Aries. Oh no, that's what's happening next weekend. This last weekend, I don't have the other last week's deck, but you could go back to the beginning and it would tell you where we are. Monday. There we go. Capricorn. So Earth sign, you'd think that would have going from fire to earth wouldn't have been so hard for you.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
So I don't really know why.
Yep. That's why we're collecting data. Let us know. What's been your experience?
That's why I was just throwing in my experience there, because I was just curious, because now I just realized that that's why I was so overwhelmed this morning with that kind of feeling.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. So, can you mute? So I'm pretty sure this major trine and the T-square over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, is going to intensify. So there could be something about money, about old wounds, and about maybe like patriotism or your home or your house or the way you live or what house is like and things like that. That's all going to be really important for you to tap into. It's really important for you to recognize this area. Jupiter in Cancer is exalted there. So that's really meant to speak to the part of us that wants to expand our home, wants to expand our life. So over the weekend, if you find your belief systems trying to shift, especially with that Mercury retrograde Scorpio Sag tends to rule Jupiter. So Mercury is really going to be is going to be speaking to that Jupiter in the T-square. It's going to be changing your belief systems. So some sort of belief that you've had about something, and it could be about other places, other countries, especially because it's Saturn, right? I mean, because it's Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about the world map. It is all about other cultures, other belief systems. Even if you live in the United States, it might just be about that city next door. Maybe you didn't want to go to that other community, or maybe there was some sort of belief system that you had keeping you from going to a particular place. Let me just say that your belief systems might be changing or shifting, especially because of that T square. And it might have something to do with money and old wounds. Okay. Because of the T square with Chiron and Aries, and it probably will work up to it all week. And then over the weekend, you'll have some sort of dramatic shift in regards to that area, to belief systems in that area, especially with money or relationships or both, because Venus in Libra is in its rulership. Okay. And that's very much about money. It's also about fairness. It's also about relationships. Okay. But Venus is in its rulership in Libra. It's very strong there. Jupiter's exalted. And Chiron is in Aries and it's retrograde. So it's really having us review this belief system we have this week. So there's some sort of belief system that is preparing you for this Mercury retrograde this week. You're going to feel it. It's going to shift inside of you. It's going to be real deep. Okay. This is real deep, you guys. This is super deep stuff. If you find yourself in tears, we'll just know that it's okay. It's the way it's supposed to be. Just try to accept those changes. It's not necessarily bad. It's more of like a healing. It's a healing of the old wounds, okay? Especially as we move into Sunday over the weekend with that T square and Mercury in opposition to Uranus. It will probably surprise you. So there'll probably be stuff on the world stage that will happen, but then there will also be stuff in your personal world that will also come through, and it will probably be in relation to that. So I think that's the big news this week, is how we're kind of leading up to a belief system change as we head into this Mercury retrograde, Bright Hawk. So
Did you
did you have anything you want to add?
No, except that we always, of course, wish you the best experiences of the week. And let us know where you're tuning in from, and is this resonating for you? And of course, if you have any questions, we do the live broadcast on Monday night. We'd be happy to share with you, answer any questions you have. And it's a great time to really get free advice on your astrology chart. As Hollis gets the tarot cards ready, they do an amazing job. Last week, I'm still thinking about last week's tarot pool. It was an amazing spread. It's amazing how the tarot speaks again in a similar way to themes from the astrology for the week. And so we really appreciate being able to add that to our podcast. Hollis uses the Love is Love deck, which is a wonderful pride deck. And all right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So here we go. There we go. So this is very much, so this is about the past, okay? So this will have a lot to do with our astrology this week, but this will have to do with the past. I think this is interesting because I was saying that we're going to shift our belief systems, and that's exactly what this is about. But except this is about belief systems that keep you caged in. These are about different belief systems or ideas or thoughts or thought patterns that you're caging yourself in. That's exactly what the Eight of Swords is. It's about sort of like self-sabotage because you have a particular belief system. This is in reference to that belief system. You've probably had it for a long time. You may not even be aware of it, probably until this week. And then, it's going to come up and you're going to be like, or maybe you are aware of it, and then you just didn't realize how it was sabotaging you. And that's pretty much what this is about. This is the Eight of Swords, and that's pretty much what the Eight of Swords represents in many tarot decks. It usually represents like a self-sabotage type of thought or belief system that will that keeps you from growing somehow. Okay, now going forward into this week, you're really going to be working hard, and that's what this is about. And it's interesting because what I'm seeing here is actually the Eight of Pentacles, which, so Pentacles in witchcraft, which is exactly where the symbol is mostly used, is actually a portal. And it's actually considered a portal that we move through from this side to the other side and maybe to other places. It's a way of transformation. So I find it interesting that we got the Eight of Pentacles for this week. And if you see there, you can see this person is working really hard to draw the pentacles and to display them. They're sweating, they're working hard, right? Okay, this is a hardworking person. And you can see that they are really plugged into not only their own uniqueness, their own self-expression, but also creating a portal maybe for others. And isn't it interesting that they're in a doorway, right? Okay. Like all of those things, everything in this card is symbolic. Okay. Everything in every card is every tarot card is symbolic. And so this is the Eight of Pentacles. And this is very much, and you notice we had the Eight of Swords and the Eight of Pentacles. And so we have double eights, 88, which makes me think that there's some sort of belief systems that's got to change. And in Pentacles and Tarot card, this is about your resources. This is about an increase, a change in resources. This is about a shift into more resources, about believing in your resources and how those resources can change and shift. So I just want to say, as the Eight of Pentacles, this is a really powerful shift, especially since we're having a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Sag. And that's very much a portal, okay? This is a time of portal. The veil is thin. And that's exactly what this is talking about. This is talking about your current shift, and it could very well be about your resources or how you tap into the resources, how you make money, whatever that symbolizes. And then going forward, we have the Five of Pentacles, which really is a movement. This is about walking away from a situation that doesn't feel good. This is about walking away from a bad relationship or a situation that hasn't been really healthy for a while, and you realize that maybe it's causing disturbances. And considering that it is in the Pentacles, again, this is the Five of Pentacles. So this makes me think about resources again. This makes me think about getting on the move, that there's something about resources. Maybe it's a bad job. Maybe it's a job that hasn't been working out, and you finally get the opportunity to walk away. And I'm just going to say, Five of Pentacles, this is great. This is you walking away from a bad situation that hasn't served you very well. And that's exactly what Samhain is all about. And that's the time of year we're at, where we're letting go of things that no longer serve us. So this really speaks to the now and speaks to the astrology. So remember that belief system, the Eight of Swords, this is your self-sabotage. This is some sort of belief system that is going to shift this week. So this is a reminder that that's just a belief system. It's not necessarily fact. And as we shift from that and we go forward, remember that you're about to enter into a portal, into another dimension. You are about to shift through the vortex. You are about to shift your entire being more into exactly who you are authentically, because this is a very authentic person, right? And they're in a doorway. This is about transformation and change. And that's exactly what we're going through in this Mercury retrograde. And get ready to walk away, because that's what's about to happen. You're about to walk away from a bad situation. I really think it's going to lead you to good places, though. So whatever situation is happening, this is going to push you through to big change, especially to better resources, because it's going to have you leaving a bad situation that's maybe putting a drain on your resources. Okay, so pay attention to this. I think this is a very powerful reading that goes really well with our astrology this week, frankly.
100% couldn't agree with you more. Oh my goodness. It's so powerful to see how the messages just continue and amplify. Transformation, change, it can be a good thing. And come on, we don't generally change and do the big transformation unless we're uncomfortable. And we've said, enough, I'm doing this differently. And that's a really good thing. And so I wish you all the best.
Watch out for the horoscopes.
Yeah,
The
make
horoscopes
sure
will
you,
be coming out in the reels.
in the reels, the horoscope for you in the reels. And again, if you know your deck and if you want to go and take advantage of our resources that we've put together for you to understand your big three, you can get that at divineandrogen.com. Is that right?
Yes. They can just go to divineandrogen.com. Oh, that's misspelled. You can just go to divineandrogen.com.
I think the links are probably below.
Click the digital shop.
That's right.
And look, you'll get 50% off if you use that code.
There you go.
50.
There you go.
And
Use
if
the
you're
Live
interested
50.
in Mystics Academy, there's your link.
There you go. And Mystics Academy, it's a great value. Oh my goodness, you get a lot for your very little monthly fee. So we hope you have a great week. We hope you listen to those horoscopes on the reels and join us on Monday evenings to ask. We can answer any questions you have. And we wish you all the best and hope you have a great week. Many thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. Have a great week.
Good night.
Thanks so much for spending time with us this week. We hope you're feeling more connected to the cosmic energies and ready to work with them in your daily life. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps us reach more people who could use some cosmic guidance. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might need to hear it. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment, let us know what resonated most or what you would like covered next week. Your questions and feedback make our show better. Want to join us live? Subscribe! And catch us on Facebook and YouTube, where you can ask questions in real time and be part of our cosmic community as it happens. Until next week, trust your intuition, follow your inner wisdom, and remember, the stars are always supporting your journey. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars.